Breaking news. The world. Breaking news. The world's on fire. God save us all. Hello, welcome. This is Richard Richardson reporting live on the ground in Ohio. We have many topics to cover today. This is, as you can see, breaking news. I'll fucking grab you by the goddamn throat. And we're back from commercial break, boys. What do you think about that ad? Alright, there's a war in Ukraine. The U.S. says that they're going to be supplying Ukrainians with U.S. Abrams tanks. The amount is somewhere in between 50 and 200. I can't remember. Do your own fucking research. Find your own source for that. That's not the breaking news, bitch. Also, in such news, there are some Eastern European countries in NATO that would like, or / the European Union that would like to supply Ukraine with F-16s. Will it happen? I don't know. If they achieved such units, they would be useful if they had the proper training, depending on the density of units. If it's something like 5% of their additional Air Force aircraft, then I don't know. They better give them real good training and real good fucking munitions if that's the case. Beyond that, there are people holding out in Bakhmut on the Ukrainian side getting bombarded by combined arms forces coordinated by the Wagner PMC group that is sponsored by Russia and now also realized and noticed as a terrorist group by the United States and many other Western nations. While this is said that Russia is bad, we must also notate that there is still corruption in the Ukrainian government that is causing there to be more supplies and better supplies closer to Poland and closer to the front line on Russia. That meaning there is corruption on the smallest and highest levels. Where's the money? Where's the documents? Show me where everything went. We're talking about trillions of dollars at this point, hundreds of thousands of small arms, hopefully hundreds of large equipment that are worth millions of dollars. What's being documented? What are the HIMARS hitting? What's going on? I don't know. We don't know. Why isn't there a Pentagon official there reporting this? It's probably not public knowledge, but I hope in 30 years they actually did report it at the time. Beyond this, speaking of Ukraine, people are still dragging Hunter Biden's name in the news, talking about his dealings in Ukraine. Yes, I believe he had some dealings in Ukraine that were quite lucrative, and maybe he used his pool using his father's name. I know that he had some previous experience in other firms, but I don't know how legitimate they are. They are not household names, yet they could have netted millions, if not billions, because that's how the fucking broken market works. That being said, he also had dealings in China, and speaking of China, there's fucking balloons overhead. Beep the telescope. They're overhead. They shot them down in Lake Huron. Chinese balloons, look into it. There have been 2021 and 2022 UFO sightings and documents that have increased almost by a magnitude of 200%. What do you think they are? Aliens? No, they're Chinese balloons. They've been there, and now they're finally noticing and doing something about it because who has a hard-on for China? Mr. Joe Biden, cutting them off from Silicon, shooting down their balloons, talking about he won't stand strong against with Taiwan against China. This is just his foreign policy. This is just a news media hyping bullshit up. Beyond that, China may seem like they're a threat, but their zero COVID policy was a flop. Their citizens are at a high time of unrest. They've had the most amount of protests that they've had in 3 years. This including their banking crisis. This including their housing crisis. This including the zero COVID policies. Look up the pictures of people in China holding up small pieces of blank paper to protest. You know what happened? The CCP stopped all sales of small blank papers to protest. I bet if you tried to track down those people, they're not able to be tracked down. They're probably put in camps. There are current genocides going on in China. China is fucked, and when that current regime falls, I hope it's bloody, and I hope something good comes of it, but it probably won't, because China is stuck in a constant cyclical cycle of being controlled by heavy-handed rulers that keep the people submissive and safe. That's not the real news. That's nothing new, fellas. What's really important, what I care about, and what you goddamn better hear about, boy, is Ohio. It's on fire here. Trains are exploding. 20 cars of toxic chemicals tipped over and blown up in a controlled fire, releasing toxic chemicals into the air, causing for 5,000 people to be evacuated. What do you think about that, fellas? Ohio's crazy, and we're boots on the ground and in the mind. Let's expand. I wish I could do field research, but there's not a red tie on my neck now, is there? The train derailed over the course of last week. It is currently February the 13th. Do the math, think about it. There was an explosion once it tipped, and there were 5 cars of vinyl chloride on board. I do not currently know what caused the explosion. However, all of these chemicals are extremely toxic, carcinogen, and probably volatile because they make, I don't know, there's a lot of hydrogen in there, and hydrogen does crazy shit a lot of times, and it's scary. And chlorine. Chlorine's bad. Chlorine's usually fucking yellow, and there's a guy out there who told me yellow's fucking bad, evil, and we want nothing to do with it. But if you look at the pictures, there is black smoke in the air, and that probably is the releasing of things such as phosphogene and hydrogen chloride. What the fuck? They call that a controlled fire. The things on board in these 20 cars, 5 of which, like I said, were vinyl chloride. The other 15 included some things such as ethylene glycol monobutane, ethyl hexyl acrylate, and isobutane. Again, 5,000 people were evacuated from the area of eastern Palestine where this train tipped over. This is on the eastern border of Ohio and the western border of Pennsylvania. Vinyl chlorine exposure is associated with increased risk of rare liver cancers and common primary liver cancer, as well as brain cancer, lung cancer, lymphoma, and leukemia. Ethyl glycol monobutyl ether irritates the eyes, skin, and respiratory tract in the short term. It can also cause central nervous system disturbances, as well as effects on the blood, kidneys, and liver. This can also combine in the air through evaporation at temperatures of 20 degrees Celsius, or, for us Americans, 68 degrees. Where I'm at in Ohio, it's around 50. Before that, around that time, it was probably 30. Isobutylene exposure also irritates the eyes, nose, throat. If you come in very close contact with the liquid, since it's so cold, it will cause frostbite. Isobutane can cause headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness, fatigue, and higher levels can cause you to slip into a coma or even die. These are some gnarly chemicals. From this controlled fire of these burning substances, some of the notable toxic and carcinogenous byproducts are phosphogene, which is extremely toxic in acute exposures in the short term, such as inhalation, which it was burned. So if you were nearby, since it was in the air, you inhaled it. And guess what happens? There's severe respiratory effects, such as pulmonary anemia, pulmonary emphysema, and death. This also can cause severe irritation and dermal burns to your eyes and skin within close radiuses. Also released, hydrogen chloride gas, which can cause irritation to your eyes, skin, and respiratory tract. High levels are extremely corrosive to your skin and respiratory tract and lead to also pulmonary anemia and death. Again, 20 cars of these substances tipped over. How did this happen? We don't know. 5 of which vinyl chloride, extremely carcinogenic, leading to many different forms of cancer. Like many other ecological experts said, we will only know the true impacts of this 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line if this burning wasn't the right choice, which it frankly seems at the very least unethical. I think when we think about chemistry, I know very little, but I know many things. Can be canceled out and made inert and controlled in a way that they are not burnt up in the air in the form of other toxic chemicals. What do I know? I'm a man in a suit in his fucking underwear in his mama's basement.
Now I got ashes on my sweet jeans, driving fast to GBC, wishing it was